Hello, I'm Ben Taylor and welcome to This Is a Scene podcast, where I'll be introducing and talking to some of what I consider to be the best new UK guitar bands. The plan is to chat to these bands about their sound, hopes and ambitions, plus some of the obstacles young independent bands face these days and where they see the scene heading. In this first episode, I speak to young Manchester band Inertia, who impressed me with their ambitious space rock sound, and for a band that are just out of college, the maturity of the song's compositions. So I chat to them about how the Manchester music scene has shaped them and their sound. Enjoy. So how did you come to sort of form? I know a bit of the history of the band from sort of previous, but if you can just tell people how you sort of came together, really.
Well, me and Dylan were originally in a group that formed a couple of years ago, and the lineup changed a few times whilst we were still like in our really early stage and stuff. And then over, I think by early last year, Joe would join, and then our old program left, and then later in the year, Paddy joined with us as well. And since then, we've just been the same four. Don't intend on changing either.
Yeah, no one's joining or anything. No. Keeping it the same.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because like I know you obviously from Overdrive, which you came and played at one of my gigs last year, and then sort of changed the lineup from that.
Yeah,
and there's been a sort of quite a change in the sound as well. So how did you sort of come upon the sort of new sound that you've got?
I think it was. I mean, you're always going to play who your influences are, and it's more of rather than wanting to change the sound, it was a bit of a change of influence. I mean, I don't want to bring it up too much, but listening to early Verve album, and getting into a lot more, atmospheric music sort of brought us all down the same rabbit hole at the same time, really. So it was more of, rather than one person dictating, everyone, we went from what we used to call post-punk to, can't even define ourselves now, really. But yeah, just a change in influences got us all where we are now, really.
We used to, we all used to be, before Paddy joined, we were Overdrive, we used to love listening to Nirvana and stuff, didn't we? Like Fontaines and all that, we used to get influenced by quite a lot. You can see it in our tunes. But over the past year, we know since Cade left and everything, we all just kind of chose to kind of differentiate ourselves from it.
A bit more expressive.
Yeah, there's loads of influence as well. Even with the 60s stuff. I mean, that's what we've been most recently. Listening to that stuff.
I think we're still going through phases of changing the sound. To be fair, it's just
we're more focused on just evolving the best we can, really.
Yeah, because I mean, I've listened to the tracks on YouTube and that, and there's definitely sort of like you say, the early Verve EPs and Storm in Heaven. I mean, the songs sound quite sort of like, are they sort of from jams more than sort of writing? Because they've got a feel of like a bit more like they're coming from a sort of jam in the rehearsal room rather than sort of sitting down and writing.
I mean, most of the parts we've got for the tunes anyway are all improvised. We've never sat down and structured a song without playing it. It all just comes from, like you say, just jamming, and everything comes out naturally, really. So
I'd say a good. It mainly just comes from Corey or Joe coming to the studio with an idea in mind, and then it kind of evolves from that. But we've never really sat down at home or sent a video to the group chat or anything and been like, all right, we'll try this. We just come in. I feel like when we forced to write a song, it doesn't feel as original as you want it to be. And then when you come up with your own part.
When we played the Club Academy last year in the summer, we had to fill a set list out for that, and there was a few songs that were just sort of wrote as like placeholders, for that, which we're lucky enough to not have to do anymore. I think we're lucky enough to be able to be at that stage.
Yeah, it's definitely got that feel of like it's not so super structured, that it's kind of just actually more of a feeling, like an atmosphere to the tunes, and rather than being a sort of structured sort of pop song.
Yeah, I mean, we do mix them up as well now and again. After a few months of playing the same old tune, you want to spice it up a bit. So a lot of them we're still developing most of the tunes we wrote 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's sort of songs that you can do that with, which is, it makes it a sort of more interesting for you, I should think, to sort of play them as well, and they're not sort of so strictly structured.
Yeah,
I think not only that as well, you know, because a lot of the gigs we do play are in, you know, similar areas, you know, around Manchester, Greater Manchester, Stockport, away from. You have heads that come to, you know, a good few of the gigs who you are, you know, obviously thankful for, but for them it might be about changing it up for whoever sees that, who's seen it a few times.
You don't want it to become too repetitive.
Don't want the show to do the same thing over it again, like every single time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. So talking about gigs, how do you find getting the gigs in the area? Is it quite an easy process, or is it difficult to get booked? Because my experience, obviously, you know, in Norwich is going to be a bit different, but we all see Manchester as a very music city, and like we assume it's going to have a very, you know, good grassroots scene. But is it still difficult, you know, out there to get people to come out, and, you know, or is it like you say, just bands are getting numbers, are like they're getting all the gigs basically, and, you know, other bands are finding it harder to even get on a bill? Or
I think we've been fortunate where we've all been at college recently, and it's easy to spread the word around, and everyone looking, you know, a chance to go out into town and stuff. But even aside from that, we go out and promote ourselves with like physical posters, slap them about everywhere in Stockport, going to Manchester, get ourselves promoted. But some of the like main grassroots venues in Manchester, like a place called Retro, and then a place called 33 Oldham Street in the Northern Quarter, have both been closed down recently, and they were both like two of the main venues for grassroots.
They were both brilliant as well.
Yeah, they were really good venues. Managed to play Retro as well before it shut down, but yeah, it's just they lose funding because it all gets taken.
People want to watch it all on the phone and watch short form clips of music that they like. Actually, what I come in here, you play live.
Yeah, I saw a gig at Retro actually. It's a pity that's closed down.
It was good venue. But as well on the like ticket sales and stuff, like these bands are just, you know, it's not like annoying per se, because it does help you get a following if, you know, you got a band who are on before you, you're bringing, or after you're bringing like, you know, 20, 30 people down. It can help you grow your fan base a bit. It can be a bit annoying at times when promoters like, well, like not to name anyone, but like certain promoters put on these big shows, and, you know, they're not looking out for you. They're not there to help. You're not there to better you sound. Not there to put you through to, you know, bigger promoters or record labels or anything like that. They're just there just purely for ticket sales, and it is a bit upsetting to see.
There to take their own, people getting into it for the wrong reasons, definitely.
And, you know, grassroots in Manchester, I'm not saying that it's probably the best you can find at all, that or London, 100%. But it's good, it's great.
It's not to sound ungrateful or anything, because we're of course like great.
Yeah, we're very grateful.
Grateful for every opportunity we're given, but it's just sad to see, because, you know, industry from where we're sat, it's just going to go downhill. I think it's really business orientated now.
I do think there is a rise in guitar music, though. It's just a lot of people are getting into it. It sort of seems like a phase rather than what you actually want to do with your life. But, you know,
the few bands that I bring through, in my opinion, I like bringing it proper back. Like a band like Bleach 93, they're proper fucking on it. Like, sorry if not to swear, but they're proper on it right now at the minute. I've seen them through their live sets and stuff at the minute, and that's what you want when you want a band, and we want to support people like that who bring the feel and bring the crowd that you want to play. And also, when it comes to like guitar music, it is a big, and I'm seeing more and more people actually enjoy a gig and not just stand there on their phone or, you know, film it for the feeling that everyone's getting into mosh pits, so everyone's dancing, you know. And it's definitely making much more of a comeback than it was 2 years ago, you know, with like just these.
Yeah, I think you've got to give that to the big names, though. Like obviously, Fontaines and Wonder Horse are the main two, really. Yeah, they've sort of grabbed people who were losing the love for guitar music, and they've brought them back in, which is also good for bands like us, you know, because
definitely. Yeah,
if cheap tickets are about, people come down and see it, won't they?
Yeah. Well, that was going to be one of my questions actually, like, because obviously you're from the sort of younger generation. Do you see sort of music now being part of the cultural conversation? Because, like, obviously I'm from the older generation where it was, you know, it was a thing, you know, buying the music papers every week and talking about bands all the time, and it seemed to be part of your identity. And I don't see it experience it with the younger people now. I've got a younger niece and nephew, and I work with younger people, and music is rarely, never a conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right, to be fair. I mean, as you've probably seen yourself, a lot of the younger generation, especially people our age, have turned towards electronic house music, you know, which I do like. I'm all for it. But in terms of the music we produce, I'm totally agree with you. You know, it's never something people are looking for a one-hit wonder now, or looking for, you know,
I
think as well,
art toppers, rather than actually people don't read into music deeply enough to know what it means to the people putting it out.
No, it's not as much as part of your identity as it once was. I think clothing and stuff still quite infused with it, but everyone's trying to get some of what they get on now. No one talks about it too much, but it's still there lingering in the background.
I think it's hard to tell from our point of view, because like most of the stuff we talk about is music oriented, because it's just what we enjoy the most doing. Like, I think the band is all of our top priorities in life at the moment. I think at college age, you do have a lot of people exploring new sort of musical avenues and stuff, but no one really follows bands anymore. Like, I think there's a lack in physical media. Like, you can't go out and buy. You still can go out and buy someone's vinyl or someone's CD, but it's not affordable, and it's. Obviously, you got Spotify, which you can pay for.
I think with Spotify as well, that's the reason maybe music isn't as culturally significant, because, you know, we've got. I just stood on my words there. Sorry. We've got, you know, you've got everything at your fingertips now, so it's like
there's no effort to go out
compared to, you know, eras such as, like, you know, the 90s, 80s, whatever.
Because it's that so easily accessible. People are too fast to look over things. Whereas back in the day, physical copies, you know, you're going to buy it and listen to the full thing start to finish. I mean, a lot of the younger generation are looking at one song opposed to a whole story told by an album.
Yeah, personally, I'm quite guilty of that myself. I think my stepdad told me the other week was like, you know, once your mate got this vinyl and you found out, you'd go around to his house, or you'd borrow it, and then you listen to it, and then you pass that information on to your next mate, or you buy it yourself.
Yeah, it's a slower progression.
Yeah,
rather than like said before, skipping over things. Yeah. You know, there's too many diamonds in the rough now that don't get seen. It's common saying, isn't it? But you know, I'm not going to waffle too much.
No, I 100% agree.
No, it's interesting. It's just an interesting thing to think about and talk about, because it is so different now, I think, in how people, you know, sort of approach music and listening to music and everything, and you can sort of see it. And like you say, it's just not. It's people have got to look a lot more for it now, which I think a lot of people just either don't know where to look, or, you know, can't be bothered to look. I mean, there's always been that thing of having it presented to you. Even back in the day, it was, you know, via the music press and music programs, and that everything was kind of, in some ways, was presented to you. But now it's not in the same way. But well, there are things, but it's not.
It's not as forced upon.
It's more pop music, and so people aren't investigating beyond, you know, what is just presented in their face, really.
Of course not, and that's why pop's become a genre now. Pop music is supposed to mean what people are into, you know. And there's not enough people to get into what we put out to call it pop music, which is what we want really in the future. You know, even if it's us or for another band to do it, the music that we put out, our style, anything to do with guitars, to be fair, we want that to become pop music rather than all, you know, it's all done digitally now. We need more. There's got to be more analog.
Well, yeah, that's one of the big things that, you know, I moan about a lot, and, you know, people will say, "Oh, you're just an older person moaning about it," but there's definitely a different feel in way things are recorded now. And, and it takes away some of the, you know, the true soul of it. For me, the way it's processed, you know, stuff being compressed down to, like, you know, just nothing, like, there's no sort of experimental, like, I mean, if you went into a studio with a certain producer with your songs, they would probably try and take most of the character out of it, in terms of
the human element sucked out of it with everything you do, from click tracks to auto tune, and that's what I try and stay away from. Really,
I was talking about the other day, like drums and tracks now sound so digital, like a Nirvana out, like a Nevermind and stuff like that. It sounded like you were there in a room with that drum, you feel it basing through you. And even to Joy Division filming, like what was it, Empty Metals?
It was out on the roof.
Out on the roof, yeah. Like, feel of the air and stuff. And like when we record, we want to bring kind of that feeling into it.
More of a natural.
Bit more of like a, experimental, but
it feels like humans are playing it, which is
exactly.
Is
not to put into like just a DI or something like that. We want it full. We want to hear a little twang on the string. We want to hear the feedback on the guitar.
You can see it in when bands from like that are a bit older have released music more recently. I'm going to give an example. The Charlatans' new album, We Are Love. It's compared to
very modernly produced.
Like their first 5-6 albums, it's just it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
All just stripped away everything.
Technology's become like that advanced that it just the differences are so underlying now. You can tell what era the music's from just by listening.
And that's the worst thing, I think, because the last time that happened for me was like the 80s.
Yeah,
and the 80s for me is one of the worst decades for music production. Because it went totally soulless, just because they discovered synthesizers and they discovered different drum machines. And bands like the Rolling Stones and everybody sounded shit in the 80s because of production.
Yeah, of course, there's no raw element, is there?
No, and they took all of that out and everyone started to copy that. And I feel like now that's starting to happen again a bit, where, as you were talking about, like the Charlatans, my favorite band probably of all time, there's just a lot of things that, to me, and it might just be, they've moved on from what I loved about them, and that's fair enough. In the 90s, they had a run that, to me, is like, one of the best around at that time. But it just doesn't sound, I mean, you can progress and technology can progress, but you got to keep soul in things, because that, to me, that's what affects me musically. And a lot of bands now, I listen to it and I just think there's something missing from and a lot of the times I think it is the production.
A worry for us as well, as you said before, because obviously we're not at a stage yet where finding a producer that suits is easy, so when we do come to recording,
keep it organic, really.
It is a stress. I think to being a bit arsy with the producers is.
Well, you just got to sort of say this is. I mean, for a band like yours, and listening to your stuff from the rehearsal rooms and that, I'd be amazed if a producer would have the nerve to try and take some of the elements out of it, because they're so distinctive. Like with some guitar bands, a general sort of generic guitar band, you could reduce them down to something very basic. But to do it with yours, where you've got sort of distinctive guitar effects and things like that, you really can't. You shouldn't be able to touch that.
Of course, it's a form of expression, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what makes it different. That's what makes it stand out. That was what, so people shouldn't but that is my big worry when I listen to a lot of bands, is I think what's going to happen when they get into a studio, is it just going to become, this sort of just a mush of like, you can't pick anything really out of it.
But it sounds better for the media, doesn't it? Like,
well, that's half the problem. I think that's what people are aiming for. I mean, I read about Stone, a band from Liverpool, like John Power's son band, got signed to a major, and I remember I wasn't ever a massive fan of them, but they were a pretty decent band. And then I remember they started to sort of release stuff that was really bad, And I thought this sounds bad. And as it turns out, they said they were forced into that.
They want to put out what people like, but
yeah,
you know, we've seen what people like nowadays. And
you've got to never move forward.
That's key.
Oh yeah, exactly.
If you're stuck in the same place, you're not gonna, you're not gonna move, are you? It's like you're quite just trapped in like quicksand. You can see it with a lot of what indie music now. Like, it's got to a certain point, stopped, and now the grade of it's like just falling down.
It's nostalgia music. I see it. People are too afraid to move on with the times. That's why everyone's recreating Britpop. But Britpop's been and gone now. It's 30 years ago.
But they're not even doing it in a good way. I mean, this is one of my main sort of annoyances with people. Like, you get a lot of bands who say, "Yeah, I love Oasis and the Verve and that," and what they're actually producing is the worst parts of those groups. They're producing the bits like, when they became stadium bands.
Yeah.
And the shit part of it, to be honest. And it's like, that's not when Oasis came out, with Supersonic and things like that, they sounded a bit dangerous, which is a weird thing to say when you think about them now being a stadium band. But they did. It was raw. It was funky. If they'd released "Stop Crying Your Heart Out" as a first single, most people wouldn't like them.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be where they are today.
No, you see, because that was when they started to write for the fans, started to write for the stadiums. And I think a lot of bands are just going into that element of it and not thinking about it was 5 guys in a garage just knocking out really loud sort of pop music, but with a punk element.
Yeah, exactly. But when you say people writing for the stadiums as well, of course you should be writing for the fans. The fans are everything, aren't they? But you should be writing for the fans who can get on a level with you. You shouldn't always be trying to get on a level with fans who want to write you. You can't cater to everyone. You've got to people have to find a niche in you. And that's where you get your loving fan base, I suppose, isn't it? A lot of Oasis fans now, they don't love the soul behind the band. They love the tunes because the tunes have been
hype around Oasis.
There's so much hype nowadays over things that are...
If you'd have told me when I was when we started jamming all that time ago, if that Oasis would have been, doing a headline tour and doing multiple nights at Heaton Park, where people are like camping on the hills just to see them, I wouldn't probably have believed you. Oasis, Resurgence, it's people, clinging to a time of how good it was in '94, and then
nostalgia music.
Well, there's a lot of people who 60% of that crowd would have been there for the event and the experience, and the fact that they love "Don't Look Back in Anger."
The hype around the band should never be bigger than the music, and that's what happens. Like it even happens with smaller bands. It's all a hype, and it's all just a face to put on social media. People just want to rush to the top, but there is no top with guitar music. You need to, rather than value in a big crowd, you need to value a small crowd who actually care.
Value what's happening now.
Well, they're the people who will come back later, even if you get bigger and then disappear and then come back. It will be the original people who will come back. Not the people who were hanging on to a couple of hit singles or something. But I was going to ask, talking about Oasis, I was going to ask, that's one of my points, and especially with you guys being in Manchester, I mean, there's been a lot made about those gigs last year, and it was great to see them come back and sort of generate that kind of interest, even though I didn't go to it. But, there's a lot of hype about that was going to revitalise music and guitar music and indie music. And I just wondered if you've felt any of that, from your gigs. Are more people coming out? Is there more people interested?
I think it's probably got quite a lot of people who were initially into guitar music, but I think what it's done mostly is just bring around loads of more Oasis copycats.
There's not much to say apart from it's only brought back Liam Gallagher's.
I will say the time around the Oasis reunion.
Yeah, it was really good.
The atmosphere in Manchester was like no other.
It's not even going, it's all died off already, so it's not changed that much. Not to slag off Oasis, but it's only brought all the time.
When you say like bands are like copying Oasis stuff, my ex used to love Jim Morrison and that, and like you're not seeing anyone like that anymore, are you? Know, like someone just actually going for it on stage or anything. It's just these people who put their hands behind the back, screaming into the microphone, or just trying to. And it's so well and good imitating your idol and whatever. It's all well and good.
But you shouldn't be afraid to be
yourself. Your own style into it. You know what I mean? Like have your own swag about you or something like that.
Yeah, but. Yeah, so I was going to say the same as you actually, that I feel like the Oasis gigs, it feels like that was just like a total like a bubble, because now it feels like you say that it's come and gone, and it might have been
live 25. It was only in 25, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it's not followed through to the good.
No, and it's kind of and I think it's partly because they did such limited. Well, they did no press about it, so it sort of you were either there or you weren't. And,
exactly.
And I think it's it hasn't had the knock-on effect that I think people hoped it would, really. Yeah. And it's it just feels like, when I'm trying to put on gigs and, I'm trying to put on gigs with bands of that sort of spirit, even if they don't sound like Oasis and things like that, that kind of, like I say, the soul that I loved when I was listening to music, but people still won't come to it. No matter how much you say to them about, they almost want it to be, formed already. And them to be, they don't want to, go and see them in a bar with 30 other people. They want to be there when it's already popular. And it's
it's the same people that would love to be able to say, I saw Oasis in 93 and before the first album. But when it's a new band, it's not the same attitude at all.
No.
Is it?
I think no one's expecting you to get big, even though now.
Yeah, on the off chance.
Yeah, it's so rare nowadays. Even just to get signed, it's so hard nowadays. People aren't expecting it, so when it does come, you can't blame people for jumping on a bandwagon.
No.
At the same time, nobody's looking deep enough into music, are they? Everyone's looking at the top, and there's so many more different layers which mean so much more. So,
I mean, do you with your own band, are you what are you looking at to sort of achieve? What would you consider like a success for you now? Because success is so different now, like you were saying, because people don't necessarily get big, and so what is your aims, as a band?
I don't think there is really anywhere. There's no end goal to look at.
I think we just have little goals, don't we?
Yeah, there's no headline in anything and no Glastonbury and all that bollocks. It's more just as long as we don't see ourselves dropping off, and we're only here to enjoy ourselves really and express ourselves. So as long
things we'd like to do. I mean, I'd love to play London as well.
Like personally, I just want a nice little. I would obviously want to get big as we all would, but I'd enjoy just having a small time, like good following, enjoy gigs and stuff like that. And we've got a few like dream venues. I'd say me and Corey went to see the Inspiral Carpets in this place called the Devil's Arse. Castle. It's probably the coolest venue I've ever been to. We want to play that. That's definitely a dream. That would be a good milestone for us.
Just to get something properly recorded, but like under our own terms and conditions and everything. Like we wouldn't ever put anything out if we weren't 100% happy with it and it fitted our complete vision and stuff.
It looked like the mistake we made with the Wasp with Overdrive. We put all the things we weren't happy with that.
We got a bit excited because the band was still in such like an embryonic state. We had the chance to go and record some demos and stuff. And it was all just
you think demos are there to put out, but they're not. Demos, it's a demo tape for a reason, isn't it?
It'd be nice to get some demos out, but it's not an 100% priority just yet.
It's not like nothing's got a date on it with us. We're fine with, a good thing to have as a band that we've got patience. We're just ready to let it play out
too, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly. We've needed a lot of patience anyway for what we've been through, but I think we're just happy to. As long as we see us progressing and not de-progressing, that's the only goal for me, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Too many bands do put out like things so quickly, and you think you're just going to take that down in 18 months because you're going to be embarrassed, and you think, you've got to develop, but because you can put stuff out now, people do it. And it's like, it's not necessarily the best thing to do. I mean, like years ago, you'd have demos and nobody would hear them other than the record label. And it would only come out when they considered it was good enough to come out. Now bands, it's great that you can put your own stuff out because you can't rely on other people to do it now. But you still have to have that sort of thing of like, quality control, really, to say like, do we want this out there as a representation of us, just to get it out? Because some people will be like you say, they're like, oh, we've got something out. It feels great to have something out, and we feel like we're a band now, but it's not necessarily the best thing, is it?
Yeah, that's why we've leaned towards putting everything on YouTube, and we've got one, couldn't even really call it a demo. We've got a demo on SoundCloud as well. But the reason, we've got all the facilities to put it on Spotify or major streaming platforms, but it's not yet. Yeah, not yet.
I think we also just want people to come to the gigs to see that song again. Just like sitting at home listening to it all the time.
Yeah, not bothered about clicks. It's about real life listens at the minute.
We're eventually gonna, release something in the future. God knows how long or how soon or whatever. We've not got any proper idea for it just yet. But one of the main things we want to do is get some of our demos, not even professionally recorded, us mixing, put onto some CDs and just hand them out for free at shows and stuff, and see if people want to hear them.
That's a good way to go, I think. Like the YouTube thing as well. Not enough people utilize that, of like putting up stuff there. People can get an actual look at the songs. Yeah, no, I think that's is the best way to go. I think more bands should do that in a certain way, but obviously they're all encouraged with the sort of TikTok sort of era of like, that's going to get people into you. But I don't think that means an awful lot.
No, not in the long run anyway.
People are getting so confused by sort of numbers and things like that, like it means something, and it doesn't a lot of the time. I had a band like a couple of years ago when I was doing my my all dayer thing, where their manager sort of rang me up, and eventually, because they asked why they weren't at the top of the bill when they had like 4,000 followers on Instagram, and the other band had 1,200 or something, and I was like, well, it's just that the other band, I was saying, I think they're more of a headliner,
Yeah, exactly.
And they couldn't get that. They thought numbers was
everything.
That's not how it works.
Yeah, social media is too involved with it now, and it sort of links to before when we were talking about physical media. But back in the day, you couldn't get so many likes, could you, on a physical poster? So why make it mean something now when it doesn't?
Yeah, well, the fact is, these people who've got like 50,000 followers, on Instagram or TikTok, if they were to sell a physical release, I guarantee you it wouldn't be more than 2,000 bought it, if that.
Exactly. 48,000.
So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, because it doesn't mean, like you say, the only thing that matters is if people coming through the door at a gig, and people saying that they like the music. Really,
we're able to say on Instagram that we've passed 1,000 followers, but if you look at the likes on the post, there's not 1,000 liking every post. It's and you've got to be aware of that. Some bands just it's like
the rent of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, we run a few bands just become arsy because we're not got as much, or because we've got more than them, and we're not. Why do we? We're not all huge on social media or anything. To be honest, I think we all got private Instagrams, but that's all we really do. We don't dust about on TikTok or anything.
I think if you have an ego in this stage of like in the grassroots stage, if you've already got an ego, then it's going to become apparently clear over time. Not everyone's going to tender to your ego, and it's not going to happen if it's going to. You
can have belief in your music, but you have to you have to be humble as well, and like
of course.
If people come out and see you, that's great. You can't and you get good feedback from that. That's great, but you can't expect things handed to you.
It's more like taking, like, as we say, if someone comes up after a gig, we've had it a few times, like where you get a compliment after a gig off someone who you've never even seen. You take them as bonuses rather than expectations. You don't know exactly. You don't even know how you're going to play on the day. People take the consistency for granted. You've got to do the work and sound good before anything good comes of it. People just expect everyone to love them because they look good, but it's not about how you look. It's about how you sound.
It's like one of the things as well that I've seen that I think when we played Jack Ryan in Liverpool, not Santa Bro or anything, but we had a group of lads in front of us and they were proper loving the music. Like we saw them dancing, proper getting into it, and that felt better than any 50k likes on TikTok. That felt so much better than anything like that.
That's real. That's because it's real, and like it means more if it's not a friend or member of the family. It means they genuinely like it.
Yeah, exactly.
A friend or a family member will always like your Instagram post, but that doesn't really mean anything, does it?
Not listening, are they?
So it's like when someone you've never met comes, and sort of says, "Yeah, that's great," but it
means a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So right, I think we'll sort of wrap it up here. So we'll just say, where can people find you, and what's your plans, going forward?
We're at Inertia _MCR on everything.
Got a few shows coming up, obviously for your promotion.
Playing the academy, aren't we?
Playing the academy. When's that? The 10th of July. Playing the Underground weekend. Any producers you want to experiment with us as well? If you see
sorry, we slagged you off.
Producers want to work with us who are a bit experimental.
Well, no, you got to be honest, don't you? I mean, that's the main thing as well. It's like it's not a sort of slagging off thing. It's it's having a sort of discussion about what is happening in music, and that's one of the main things that I'm sort of doing this podcast for as well, really, is to create a bit of discussion because, in the past, personalities and people's opinions made people interested in their music as well. So we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for coming on, and I'll see you soon anyway.
Yeah, see you soon.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.
No worries. Cheers. Thanks, lads. So that was my chat with Inertia. I hope you enjoyed it. It's great to see a young band who want to remain authentic in times where it's much easier to follow the flock. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed that chat, there is more to come with some great new bands on the pod in the coming months. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, that would help a lot, and give it a thumbs up or a review. The social media links will be in the description for all our socials, plus a link to Inertia's. You can follow This Is Music Norwich on Instagram to keep updated on gigs and music reviews plus news on the podcast. See you soon for another episode of This Is the Scene.